And welcome back to Danny Plays. So I just recorded a tutorial on how to build a treehouse, but I don't like the treehouse, and the video was too long, and there wasn't really much of a way to edit it to be shorter. So what I've decided to do instead, and there may be a treehouse tutorial in the future, but I thought about something else. I actually really like the way the tree came out, so I'm going to teach you guys how to build custom trees, because I build quite a few custom trees, and I feel like I'll be better at that. So to start, let's pick what kind of, since we're in a spruce forest, we should do spruce, obviously, with dark oak. Now I'm going to show you how to build two different kinds here, and the reason I'm going to do that is because the biggest thing with custom trees is scale. What I mean by that is that depending on how big you go, there's difference in how you have to do it. So to start off, let's do a small custom tree, and we'll do it over here so you can see it. Now, small custom trees, I actually prefer to build these. I built quite a few oak versions of these. It's been a while since I built one though, so let's see if I still can do it pretty good. Okay, so that's the base of a smaller one, right? You start with just kind of a random shape, and then to make it look like it's in the ground a bit more, you add these half slabs. Now, something, just a little extra detail you can do, is to make it really look like it's part of the ground. We now have coarse and rooted dirt, so you can kind of just, well, we had coarse dirt for a long time, but the rooted dirt is new-ish, so you can just kind of add this around, and if that doesn't look great, adding some podzol, because podzol looks a lot like mud, so adding some podzol, some rooted dirt, and voila, suddenly we have a nice area around the tree. Now, I don't usually do that, and I think the grass works just fine. So let's get on to the next part. The next part is you just go up like this, and depending on which way you went, because for the smaller ones, you want to have like a 4-block center, really. And depending on which way, that's the way the tree will tilt. And this is just how I do the spruce variations of the trees. I do these trees different depending on what kind of tree I'm doing. But with a spruce tree, I always like to give it some tilt. So, now, just start building up. And we're not gonna, and this is actually bigger than what I was planning on doing for the first custom tree. In fact, let's bring it down to like a 3-block. And just something like that. Actually a bit taller. We want to go just this. This works. See, this is a decent sized tree, but it's not massive like that other one. Now add some fences in, because these kind of look, they're just extra detail, really. I mean, I don't know what they exactly look like on an actual tree, but they look good when you put them on, so that's always a benefit. Now, obviously, you've got to add some branches. So let's Now, I'm going to do minimal branches on this tree, because that's just going to make it easier to demonstrate. And they're going to be short branches. Okay, so there we go. That's probably good. Now, if you actually switch these blocks out for like mushroom stems and stuff, and got rid of the branches, this would be a really good stock for a custom mushroom as well. So there's always that. And I'm saying that because this is a bit stocky for a tree. This is not my usual lean design that I use in build battles and stuff. Now, this is the hardest part of making a custom tree in my opinion, and that is the leaves. The leaves, I always struggle with those. Which might be why I'm doing this right now, because I might be stalling a little bit. But yeah, I always struggle just a bit with the leaves. So let's try and put some leaves together and just see what we end up with. And you just kind of want to place them around the branch. Especially on the bottom. See, that actually turned out pretty well. So just kind of go over the bottom here. Now, around the sides. Now this is a bit too bulky, so we want to trim that down a bit. See, like that. That looks a bit odd, but we're gonna have to deal with it because it'll look odd either way. Now, from the front, it doesn't actually look that bad. Now, this is the real hard part, because you have to decide how big you want the canopy to be. And I actually remembered that there is a smaller tree variation on this island, so not island, but world. So I'll bring you guys to that one in a little bit, and I'll show you the difference between this version. So I guess there will be 3 variations. My big one, this one will be the medium one, and I'll show you guys the small one in just a little bit. Let's see how far we are. We're already 8 minutes in, so I might have to do a speed up with a voiceover for the big tree, just to make sure we can fit this all in a proper amount of time. Oh, also glowberries are great for trees now. Now see, I don't like the way this tree is. I don't like the way that this tree's canopy is really coming out. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. Okay, so we're gonna... Okay, is that looking better? Not really, but we're gonna stick with it. And adding these little dangling leaves is always a nice touch. Okay, see, that makes it infinitely better already. So, because I don't have much time, I'm gonna focus just on the front so that you guys can get a view of what it would look like when it's really good. So, where's the other thing? Oh wait, not that kind of drip leaf. I hate... Okay. Where are the glowberries? Oh yeah, they're in the food. I always forget that they're, for whatever reason. Like, I mean, I know why. Wait. Oh, I forgot they can only be put on solid blocks. Which is where the moss block is your friend, because it kind of looks like a solid leaf. So you can stick this somewhere like so, and then have glowberries come down. And see, glowberries are like a nice thinner vine compared to the ones you make with the logs. I mean, not logs, leaves. Okay, you also want to add some normal vines. I'm still a little sick, so sorry if my voice is a bit off. Again, these can only be placed on solid blocks, but adding the flowers can help for the particle effects that they produce. Also, they just look nice. And lastly, if we put some... Yeah, the drip leaf can look good on some, but it doesn't look that good on this one. So instead, we're just gonna do that. But now, let me just go find that other tree and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I found it. And this is actually just a really nice scene that I built. I built this because this. I was on a friend's world that I knew we wouldn't play for very long. And since I knew we wouldn't be playing for very long, I just decided to only build a small base. But I wanted the small base to look good. So I designed this and then I built it in his world. Although I did have a slightly different block palette. But anyway, while looking at this, see this tree? It has the same idea, but a much smaller base. And then it gets thinner until it's only one block, and it goes out kind of the way I did the branches. And then it has one single block that goes into the canopy. Now this canopy is interesting because it's very wide, and it goes down a decent amount. But then we have these vines. Now the vines are kind of the same, but we have vines growing off the bark itself, and it's more full, which I think really makes it look nice. But yeah, this thinner tree type, the other tree type could be better for like if you're building like a forest, but if you just want to have like some custom trees around your house, this is probably the best way to go about it. Although it has to go with a kind of atmosphere, like you'd have to change up the type of tree it was for a different atmosphere, but something like this, perfect for it. Now, oh, here's some other custom trees. I have a ton of custom trees, and I actually talked about these. I actually think I have a video about making these trees specifically, or I have a video where I build one of these trees. Well, these trees have a wider base like the last one, but they're much shorter. And these are my spooky trees for Halloween. They have branches that go off, but no leaves. So those ones look nice. But now for the bigger part, and that is going to be building the giant tree. And let's see how long we have. We have probably about 6 minutes, which probably isn't going to be enough time, but I'm going to try, and if it isn't, I'll just make a voiceover for it later. Oh, because we're in a different area, let's make a giant oak tree, I think. Could be cool. Now, the oak tree isn't as wild as like the spruce tree, I'd say. It's got to be just kind of wider and thicker. And I'll add detail to this later. You really want to do the half slabs to make it blend in with the ground, and you need them for the extra detail. This tree, we're gonna just start building it up. And let's go. So even though it's not going to be as tilted, a tree this big should have some tilt, and because I don't want it to look too boxy, it's got to have at least a little. Now the idea is we want this tree to be bigger than all the other trees in the area so to make it really stand out. Now see, this is a bit too boxy, but not because it doesn't tilt enough, that's just me not having enough variation. So that looks better. Now we also want to get rid of that maybe. Okay, that's good. Now we can have this bend back just a little. Maybe get rid of those. And now that it's tall enough, I think we add the canopy. And I actually like the way this one looks, and I don't think it needs any branches. I think that this one just kind of needs to be its own thing. So first of all, we want to, for a tree this big, now this again is the kind of tree, imagine you're building a forest. This is the kind of tree you want in a custom forest. Now, one thing I can imagine you doing with this in a custom forest is like if you had one giant, really thick, like kind of mother tree, I guess you could call it, like some big, ginormous primal tree. And you just had these really thin, tall ones all around it. I feel like that could be a pretty good use for these. Maybe. Also, just having these thin, tall ones mixed in with those short, stubby ones I made earlier could be a cool way to use these to give it a bit more variation. Okay. Now we want to do this, and this is kind of a different take on those vines we did earlier, where instead of having the leaves come down individually as kind of strands of vines, the whole entire canopy drapes down, and the vines are made from the canopy instead of them being just individual things that hang down. Like the canopy itself is the vines. Now, I think I probably should have gone wider on a tree this big. But hey, I'm fine with it. And I like the way that looks. It kind of almost looks like a palm tree almost, maybe. Yeah, I like this. So, that's it for this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed. Build your trees now.